When most people think of George Washington, they picture a stern military commander crossing the Delaware or the first president of the United States. But what was Washington actually like in everyday life? What did he eat, drink, do for fun, and how did he spend his days? George Washington was born in 1732 in Virginia and lived during a time when wealthy landowners followed routines that might seem strange today. Despite his legendary status, Washington was remarkably disciplined and structured. Washington was known for waking up early. At Mount Vernon, his plantation along the Potomac River, he often rose before sunrise. He believed in personally inspecting his farms, livestock, and workers. Rather than sitting behind a desk all day, he spent hours on horseback traveling across his property. By modern standards, Mount Vernon was enormous. Washington managed thousands of acres and treated it almost like a business empire. He kept detailed records of crops, livestock, weather, expenses, and production. Visitors often remarked that Washington paid attention to even the smallest details. For breakfast, Washington typically ate a relatively simple meal. One of his favorites was hoe cakes, a type of cornmeal pancake popular in colonial America. He often enjoyed them with butter and honey. He also drank tea regularly. Unlike the image some people have of early Americans drinking only coffee, tea remained popular among many wealthy Virginians. Lunch was usually light, especially when Washington was busy. Dinner, however, was the main meal of the day. At Mount Vernon, dinner could be surprisingly elaborate. Guests might find roasted meats, fish from the Potomac River, vegetables grown on the estate, breads, puddings, and seasonal fruits. Washington loved fish. Historical records show he frequently ate shad, herring, and other fish caught from the river near his home. He also enjoyed beef, ham, and various game meats. One thing that often surprises people is Washington's relationship with alcohol. He drank, but generally not to excess. In colonial America, alcohol was a normal part of daily life because water quality was not always reliable. Washington enjoyed wine and was particularly fond of Madeira, a fortified wine imported from Portugal. He served it at social gatherings and official functions. He also operated a whiskey distillery later in life. In fact, Washington's distillery became one of the largest whiskey producers in the young United States. Despite this, there are few accounts suggesting Washington was a heavy drinker. He valued self-control and personal discipline throughout his life. What about women? George Washington married Martha Custis in 1759. Martha was a wealthy widow, and their marriage brought together substantial land and resources. Historical evidence suggests they had a strong partnership and genuine affection for one another. The couple did not have children together. Martha had children from her previous marriage, and Washington helped raise them. Throughout their marriage, which lasted more than 40 years, Martha was one of George Washington's closest confidants and supporters. Like many prominent men of his era, Washington was known for being courteous and charming in social settings. Women often admired his height, confidence, and reputation. Standing over 6 feet tall, he was exceptionally tall for the 18th century. There have been occasional rumors about possible romantic interests before his marriage, including a woman named Sally Fairfax. Historians continue to debate the depth of those relationships, but there is no strong evidence that Washington engaged in scandalous affairs during his marriage. Washington was also intensely focused on appearance and manners. He dressed well, favored tailored clothing, and paid close attention to etiquette. As a young man, he copied and studied a set of behavioral guidelines known as the Rules of Civility. These rules emphasized respect, self-control, humility, and proper conduct. Exercise was naturally built into Washington's life. He rode horses frequently, walked large distances across his properties, and remained physically active well into old age. He was considered an excellent horseman and took pride in his riding skills. In his leisure time, Washington enjoyed fox hunting, attending social gatherings, dancing, and entertaining guests. Contrary to the image of a permanently serious leader, he could be sociable and enjoyed conversation. Visitors to Mount Vernon frequently noted that Washington liked routine. He often followed a predictable schedule, balancing work, correspondence, meals, and social activities. Even after becoming president, he maintained many of these habits. One characteristic appears repeatedly in accounts from people who knew him: discipline. Washington carefully managed his time, monitored his finances, supervised his properties, and maintained a strong sense of personal responsibility